Hey ARCTURIAN Starseeds, welcome to your March reading. This is going to be for 2018, or whenever you're watching this, even if it's not March or 2018, it's synchronized to your subjectivity. Crystals, important crystals are morganite and star rose quartz or rose quartz. Star rose quartz is an octave higher than the rose quartz. It's like a more refined vibration. And it has to do with divine love, unconditional love, and just working with the divine love type of frequency can be very helpful for you this month. A heavy message that I'm getting is that for you this month, the oracle card's more important. So let me pull that first, which I usually do the tarot first, but it is what it is. Okay, I could see why they just asked me to talk about rose quartz, star rose quartz in particular, and these crystals of divine love, because what you have is the portal of transcendence from this Mayan oracle, and this is talking about, first of all, you know, your union with the greater dimension of you, the higher dimension of you, and kind of warping yourself into this divine unconditional love. So there's that crystal portion that is going to help you this month. But this card is paired with Kimi, which is a card of death. And you know what's really interesting is that portal of transcendence in this deck, the Mayan oracle, is talking about this birth canal and this stargate into the next dimension. So it's like literally you're getting pushed through the vagina of the divine mother into the next dimension. But the Kimi is a card of death. So whereas usually you would think the narrative goes from death to birth, you first have the birth and then death. So this talks about a couple different things to me, which is, again, a reprogramming of your perception of time. So there's this notion sometimes that we carry, like, before we go into the next realm, I feel like I need to stop this and that and this, and then I can go into the next realm. But they're telling me, no, that's not the case. This actual rebirth cycle that is very, very highlighted and emphasized, because it's not even like this rebirth is signified from one card. It's like literally manually telling me you're going to be born into the next dimension and there's a death. It's like specific. And it's telling me it's simultaneous. This death and rebirth isn't linearly experienced, but it's simultaneous. So whatever habits or belief structures that don't serve you anymore is going to just fall off as you become birthed into this new paradigm. What I want me to really highlight is that you're going to be experiencing this tremendous force of grace, that there are things that you thought were so unfathomably impossible to get done previously in your previous attempts, but you're going to just see that it just becomes so easy this month. And you're going to be coming across these, I guess, obstacles, not obstacles, but just these phases where you are faced with the same kind of frequency where you have this experience of apathy, like, oh, how am I going to do this? But then you're going to learn to accept that part of you that experiences the apathy without judging it and without thinking this is really wrong. Because part of what makes lower frequency reactions so detrimental is your judgment towards it. So I think this month, first of all, you're going to be having this neutral acceptance of these aspects of yourself and realize, you know, that's just the divine way of things. But also you're going to be seeing that in conjunction with that, you're going to be shedding away so quickly this month. It's going to be very smooth sailing into how you shed these limited belief systems that maybe blocked you in the past. And I'm going to suggest for you, if you haven't read it already, to read Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, or at least working with his meditation. So either read the book or do the meditation. You can buy both, either or either. So yeah, that's one thing I'm called to mention. So that book is kind of more of a neuroscientific kind of approach to breaking belief systems, and it's also spiritual. But if you're the kind of person who really appreciate rational explanations to things, then that's going to help you navigate through these energies. Make peace with the Atlantis timeline and Anunnaki. Okay, this is something that keeps coming up for me personally in certain readings or just in general. I have massive synchronicities about the timeline of Atlantis civilization. So I feel that it would help you to work with that timeline and transmuting that timeline using the violet flame, which comes very natural to Arcturians. Okay, so there's a few different layers to this Isis Oracle that I'm called to work with. And first is the power over 7 scorpions. So this is about you facing these vibrational kind of, I guess, obstacles, as I said before. So when I said you're going to be having this graceful moments and this acceptance of these lower vibrational forces, it comes up again in this deck. And in this deck, it talks about your like power to conjure these forces and transmute them kind of instantly. And, you know, as you grow brighter, you also are able to take on more of the collective trauma and kind of, you know, really switch it up. And you're going to be facing that, but you're going to see that it becomes really much easier from now on. But it does say that you're going to be facing some of those lower frequencies. Just make sure that you realize how powerful your consciousness is and the power of your word and your affirmations. Invoke on your angels, because you have this card that signifies your connection with angels. And it's interesting that another sign had this. What was it? I think it was the Pleiadians or somebody else who had this highlighting of this angelic presence that is completely enveloping the starseed community. Because we're not necessarily like we like to invoke extraterrestrial guides, but maybe not necessarily the angels, because we're so used to invoking like our Arcturian guides and whatnot. But they're asking you to actually start integrating more angelic forces, because it has this power of purity that is not tied to a star system, that is not tied to a density. It's actually just like an omnipresent energy emanation of source. So it's asking you to, yes, continue to work with your extraterrestrial guides, but also start more and more tuning into the angelic realms, because you actually have a lot of angelic aspects of you. There's aspects of you that are very much linked to the angelic realm. Now, another card that comes up is Truths Unveiled. And this is about your need to cultivate discernment. This discernment is very important as you go on through these ascension journeys. That's even going to get more and more convoluted, right? Our reality is going to get so convoluted, and it's probably going to differ more and more from one another because we're getting so complex. Everyone's subjectivity is so different, and everyone's truth is going to be different. Even if we're connecting as an Arcturian community, your experience of the Arctur star system and all of the other star heritages is going to be completely different than mine. That's just the nature of subjective reality. And I think when we step onto the next level, and when we all collectively experience a physical manifestation of the fifth dimension, is not going to be all of a sudden like happily ever after over. That's far from what we even want. But we're going to start finding out that our belief systems are so different, all of us, and our experience is so different even with the same heritage. So what you need to really understand right now at this point, before we actually fall into this crazy convoluted rabbit hole, is to realize that you have the biggest power when it comes to subjective truth. Your truth and whatever aligns to your essence is the most important aspect of what creates your reality. So you need to have this sharp discernment, this kind of Ace of Swords energy, that when you read an entire book from your favorite author, like a nonfiction author, like a channeling, let's say, you need to be able to read the whole book and not be swayed from your essence as to you only magnetize the information from that book that is resonant and you filter out everything else. When you listen to my reading, when you listen to this reading, and when you're watching the energies, you need to be able to take what resonates and just discard everything else that does not. And that's just going to be the nature of how you create your and how you serve the world, is by really discerning what aligns to your essence and clearly, confidently projecting that reality. And that is the fractal of the consciousness that you are here to emit, this code. And it's going to differ from everybody else. So learn to make this funnel and always discern what you hear and what works for other people. Take what you want from that and just don't lose sight that you are the most powerful force of consciousness when you are experiencing and conscious of this reality. If you are conscious and you're watching anybody else that could be more powerful than you, actually you're the perceiver of that entity, or you're that perceiver of that complex. So as a perceiver, you're the one that's projecting it. And so that automatically means that you have that capacity within your subjectivity. So you're the one who's actually conjuring that dynamic. And sometimes it helps to have a position where you feel like you're inferior, but you're not. Just remember that. You feel like you're inferior, and that could be helpful in terms of creating the next hologram, but you're the infinite source. You're the only experience of infinite source that you know of, that you can really experience. And you co-create the other people's identity. Even so, we're interfacing now. A part of you is helping me create this complex of being as being your oracle reader. And you are affirming my existence as that because you prefer to have somebody like me read these energies for you. But just remember that you're the projector of this experience as well. Now that's over with, let's get into the tarot reading. You are very heavily intertwined with Atlantean timeline this month. I'm going to say that again because I didn't even realize the oracle cards and tarot cards that I was chosen to pull mostly have something to do with these timelines, and also pay attention to the Mayan timelines. You're going to be probably getting downloads of these packets of memories in your sleep state this month. That's going to be energetically beneficial for you. So I'm going to ask you to, if you are going to invest in a new crystal this month, look into anything with a Mayan activation and or tektite. Aw, I am so happy for you. Wow. Look at this. Look at this Egyptian. So I'm going to say right here that I read the Thoth Tarot for also Pleiadians, and you have the 2 of the same cards. I only pulled 4. So I would recommend you to watch the Pleiadian reading, even if you don't resonate with the star system. That's what I keep saying is a lot of people have questions about how do I know what my heritage is, but if you're a wanderer, which you probably are, especially if you're an Arcturian, you're definitely a wanderer rather than a specific star system, because Arcturians are like really advanced and really ancient, and they wander through dimensions. They're not tied to a system. So it's very likely that you have various different timelines, inceptions before Arcturus. And so it's important to pay attention to other star systems, and also not to mention that they're all this federation of light that is involved in the human evolution right now. So yes, look into the Pleiadian reading. If you are called to, doesn't matter, you don't have to. Let's get into your reading. It's pretty interesting. On the bottom of this deck is the Tower, and interestingly, this is this Tower depiction on the Thoth. Look at it. There's the all-seeing eye, and then this truth that is unveiled about these. This is the, you know, like the, let's say the slave matrix, or whatever that didn't serve your alignment to your essence. And you know, you just got the Truth Unveiled card in the Isis deck too. So this is huge. You're going to be having a lot of revelations about yourself, and also the parts of yourself that you've numbed yourself from feeling. Like these, I guess, memory pockets from Atlantis, or these timelines that manifest in certain situations in this life, but it's something that you have put off because your emotional body wasn't able to handle this, nor was your mental body able to handle this. But now comes a time where your vessel is purified enough that you can deal with this, and this truth and this awareness obliterates all of this. And it's very uncanny that you have the moon here, which talks about the same kind of thing. It's kind of like the dark night of the soul, this moon card. And I think that you could be having moments like that. And if you're tuning into this, I'm pretty sure you already had your phase of dark night of the soul. But I think that this, coupled with this grace card you got, was you're going to be experiencing a condensed kind of aftershock of the dark night of the soul. So not the actual dark night of the soul, but an aftershock of it, where, you know, before you actually transcend onto the next thing, you experience this condensed flash of it. Just like when you die, a lot of people have a flash of their life thus far. You're gonna have a flash of the dark night of the soul and all the things you've been through as the result of seeing through to the truth. But, you know, this is completely stabilized by this happiness card, this emotional fulfillment. And this is also has to do with the moon. So you have this emotional kind of will over your emotional body. Now that's why you are finishing and finalizing this, I guess, exploration of truth and absolute clarity and awareness. And then you have this also this power card, which is the 4 of discs, this stable material kind of support to how you're going to navigate through this. This isn't a tower of destruction. This is more like just an evaporation into the next realm of dimension. You know, I don't see this as anything negative. I almost see this as like pulling out this tooth that has been giving you toothaches for months, and now it's gone. You know, it was more painful to hold on to it than to obliterate this. So this obliteration isn't something that's painful. It's actually a release. And then you have the Knight of Swords, which is this fiery air energy that is swift, and you are just like going through this. And this is that discernment that I was talking about, is from getting tricked into this third dimensional, third density slave matrix, you gained this discernment that now allows you to not give a fuck and like literally navigate through the quantum reality without being of harm to others. This is huge. I think this is what we've been all doing, is to be able to gain this internal interface and this discernment that is aligned to our higher selves at every moment, that we can have this linear experience of the quantum matrix, which is like infinite 0-point field, and go about, you know, exploring it without damaging our other parts of ourselves. So that's great. You know, it's interesting to me that in this symbolic, there's that parallel on this side with the reptilian. So, you know, just work with them, talk to them. And I'm just going to say, you know, like talk to the parasites in your emotional and physical field. Start to talk to them and start to accept and appreciate them to a point where you are not obliterating their existence. You're helping them ascend. And also, it's like they've been serving you in a sense that you would not have this dense experience unless there was that polaric manifestation. Wouldn't you rather experience this than like just wander around in etheric realms for millions of years without any catalyzation? You know, this is okay. Like, this is perfect. The last cards I'm going to pull for you. Aww, miracles. So I think what you're going to find out is this month isn't going to be like any of the months that you've had before in your life. This month, you're going to find like literal miracles happening all the time, especially when it comes to like shedding old systems and emotional patterns. You're going to see that they just dissipate. Like when you try to squeeze a ball of snow, it just melts. That's kind of how it's gonna be like. You are so light now. Your body is based in light, because Arcturus is like my most dominant heritage connection that I have. And so I feel like definitely you could probably relate to my personal journey at this point. And I feel my light body as never before. Like my light body is so dominant, and from that place of operating from your light body, you can't help but experience countless miracles. You can't help but experience endless synchronicities everywhere. And I think that's what you're going to find this month. You just have to surrender how things are going to happen and just chill. They're asking me to ask you to incorporate gold frequency. So whether that's gold jewelry or like gold sound frequency. So if you go ahead and search for sound frequencies with gold, that'll be very beneficial for the energetics that you're experiencing this month. So if you have like gold jewelry, make sure you wear it throughout this month and beyond. So this is another thing that keeps popping up in your reading, as I did before, is this need for you to shield and defend against the lower vibrations. And I think because you are so freaking powerful now, the powerful light attracts all this moth and all these entities that can't do anything with themselves. So they're going to be drawn to you. And your job is to shield it yourself. And not in a sense that shielding your energy field is going to repel them, but shielding your energy field is going to transmute their energy. So when you shield, what you do essentially is generate this light. You invoke this golden white light. That's how you shield your aura, right? So when the entities come, it doesn't mean that they get in contact with your field and then they go away. When you shield yourself with the golden white light, they will be drawn to your light, and then that light immediately conjures the lower forces. And it's kind of like when the moth runs into the fire, it'll burn. And not in a sense that their death is shitty. I mean, if you're a parasite, if you have parasitic energy, the death is great because then you can move on. So don't think that you're like killing it or you're rejecting it. When you shield, it's not about like blocking as you think, like the weapon, like blocking the weapon, like that shield that we think. The energetic shield is completely different in a way that it actually transmutes it. Now, forgiveness comes up now, and this goes with when you find the external truths more and more, and when you have to deal with these lower vibrational entities, forgiveness is a really crucial frequency to hold, and that comes with a violet flame. Violet flame is a frequency, and it's an etheric actual like entity with consciousness that transmutes negative and lower forces. And you know, there's a saying that when you ascend, you forget about this frequency of forgiveness because you view things from a place where forgiveness isn't even necessary because it's natural. Like you don't judge things as good and bad, so forgiveness is natural. But honor your third dimensional perspective and the journey you have walked, that at this stage we still need forgiveness, right? For a lot of things, for a lot of instances. So don't forget to invoke the violet flame. And I'm going to insert a little clip of a violet flame here. Now, the last card you have here is Gaian Awakening, and this talks about the collective ascension that obviously we're all feeling, but I feel like the more you ease into this collective ascension, and the more you ascend yourself and other people are ascending with you, you're probably losing track of how you first viewed Gaian Awakening. This ascension of Gaia, maybe you had a conception of it earlier, like maybe even a couple months ago, a few months ago to a couple years ago, you had an idea of what it's going to be like, but as you're experiencing it, you're probably realizing it is nothing like you imagine, because as you experience this Gaian awakening, you're actually ascending in dimensions, and so your experience of it is nothing like you thought of it. That's just one thing that I'm called to mention here. And I recommend you work with light language, because when you get more higher and higher frequency, this kind of language transmission is awesome, but also light language is something that will suit your higher dimensional channels. And you're the first people I'm telling now, but I'm creating this project where I'm taking sound frequencies from different star system, like sound healers and musicians, and encoding light frequency subliminals under, so that you don't just work with linear language subliminals, but you'll have this light language subliminal to loop. Because even with light language, it's not something you want to listen to all the time, but it's very beneficial, and it's only for very like high frequency consciousness. But in a way that it's subliminal and just for your subconscious mind, it will work wonders. And so that's something I'm working on. Look forward to it, because it looks like they are asking you to do it, and it looks like they're kind of prompting me to move on with the project and start materializing it, crystallizing it. It's just funny, because this reading is also for me. I'm Arcturian as fuck. Okay, I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending you incredible blessings and miracles through this month. It's not just from me, it's from our Arcturian guys as well. They say you're never gonna be the same again. Okay, bye.